Alright, to start, I want to apologize. The first part of this video is a little bit blurry. I don't know what happened. Everything looked clear when I was recording it, and it's been a while, so yeah, anyway. It does clear up later on, so we're fine. So, this is the crash test. So Alex and I don't live in the same place, and he came to visit while he was on his honeymoon, and so I got to meet his beautiful wife, and we got to take an opportunity to crash test the game. I think I might have mentioned in the last installment that we kind of pushed ourselves to make sure that we got it to a playable point, so that it was ready when he came to visit, so that we could do this crash test. So you can see this is where I got the pictures that I've used in a couple of the previous installment as well, for like the game board and how things looked. So yeah, anyway, so that's where those pictures came from. So this is the crash test. It was just between the robots and the humans. Like I'd said, we hadn't really developed the mutants, and we hadn't even figured out a fourth faction really yet. Like, at this point, I think we knew what all four factions were, but had done zero work on the other two. So for now, we just focused on what we had, and then we just tried to get this game from beginning to the end. So you can see what he did right there was when he put that bigger template on that you can see, and I'd put one on earlier. Those are some of the minefields that we have in the game. So we really wanted to not just make this wasteland, but very post-war. So a lot of the random technology that gets found in the wasteland can still very much be active, and so they serve as a way to hinder or limit or otherwise influence how people are able to move across the board. I never said it flat out, but I think the size of the board we finished up on, and I will verify this and include it on the screen if I'm wrong, is 18 by 17 hexes, and so we wanted to make sure that there were enough map tiles to make a game engaging and interesting and fill most of the board, but then and also have enough variety so that it's never the same way twice. I think we did a pretty good job with that. You can see at the back edge, where Alex's elbow is right now, those were all of the map tiles. And, even at ridiculously high speed, you can see that we're not really progressing through the game very quickly. That's because crash test, we're going, every turn we take, every time we move a person, oh crap, we forgot to have something to represent this. And so you can see, coins on the game board, and things like that. We're just like making sure that all of the gaps are being filled literally as we go. And so to start, especially, it's pretty slow, but we get to the point where we're moving along. There it goes. It's clear now. So I am the robots, and Alex is the humans, and we're finally getting to the point where we're actually really getting the game moving. Alex just purchased a third unit. You can see I'm still at 2. I do not have enough resources to purchase a third unit yet. That's kind of one of the strengths of the humans, is that they can not only get units out, but even though they're weak, they can keep units coming, as long as they've got a base to deploy them from. So so far it's been really good, actually, for I mean, mind you, we're only like 3 rounds in at this point, but it's I don't know. It's been. It went the way that I was hoping it would. I'm building up my resources to eventually get an additional unit out. The humans already have one out, and he's probably pretty close to the resources for a 4th unit of the 5 maximum. So it's like it definitely met all expectations. So now that things are clear, though, and you can see the coins are the, well, we refer to them as pylons. I don't know if that will change or not, but the robots require a communications network because of just, the horribleness in the air, or whatever you want to call it, and it has made communications problematic for the robots. And so, like, to keep their wireless network up, because they're, like kind of a hive mind, I guess, would be the easiest way to put it. So as the robots progress across the board, they have to set up a communications network, and then, robot units can only be so far away from those pylons. Now, the pylons can act independently, so if a pylon gets knocked out, that doesn't necessarily mean that every node past that goes down. And so, anyway, we figured it'd make it a really interesting, because we didn't want the robots to just be stronger, faster, better. They needed their limitation too. So that was kind of the solution that we had for that. So, and it worked out really well. The robots can't just storm across the board, because they have to have that network in place before they can bring anybody else in. So it worked really well, I think. So at least at this point, we are keeping it. So I suppose I should probably discuss the difference between a play test and a crash test. This crash test was literally to see if we could get from the beginning to the end of a game. And then to find what we were missing, and whether or not we could stop gap it to keep going. And then continue on, covering all of these things that we didn't consider or forgot about or didn't know was going to be an issue. And so that was the point of this, to even make sure that it worked with what we had. And I'm glad to say it did, which is why you're able to watch this video, because if it was, well, I'd probably still show it if it was a failure, but I wouldn't be so happy about it. So whereas a playtest is, we've got the game works, we just need it to work the way we want it to. So I'd mentioned that, there's a lot of math involved in board games of pretty much any size, scope, and ambition. So it's a matter of tweaking number, like how many of this kind of resource do we want to have available? Because the more of them that are available, the more that players will have access to, and that can change the flow of the game. And so, so like if there's a common and a rare, obviously we want more of the commons than the rare, because every additional common makes those few rare ones even rarer. And that's what I'm just talking about in terms of math and ratios and things like that. And so, with a playtest, we've got it working, we just need to get it working right. When we get to the playtest portion, it'll be more than just Alex and I. Will actually both get groups, and we'll have them sit down and learn the rules and play games, and see if they can find problems, because honestly, the best way, in my experience, the best way to find if something is wrong is to view it through the eyes of someone who didn't write it, because like I am going to overthink it because I helped develop it, whereas a person who is just playing the game is going to run into a problem and go, what do I do here? And that's my cue to come up with something so that they know what to do in that situation. So it's a very natural way to put the finishing touches on. You know, play testing, same as like, you know, beta testing for video games and things like that. So, you can see that in that time I spent blabbing a lot, we finally got into the groove of like the turns and stuff. We know we covered everything that we were missing. So now we're actually rolling through the game, and you can see that all kinds of stuff has happened. There's all different kinds of tiles, and you can see like the different colored shapes and things like that. And those all represent different things. And I will go into all of those in more detail, when we get closer to the playtest time. But, you know, so like some of those are resources. Some of those are things that hinder certain types of units. Some of those are, you know, it can give various advantages, or disadvantages depending on who you are and where it is and all of those things. So, and then there's tiles that don't mean anything at all. They're just blank, basically. But we wanted we wanted those marked so that way people could, you know, because like I said, from the previous installments, we wanted this to be exploration based as well as combat based. So there's, you know, we wanted to incentivize exploring and fighting. You know, we didn't want people just running and gunning, which is why we put the resource requirements on the additional units, instead of it just being like a round-based thing or you know, something like that. So you have to explore and fight or defend or whatever it is that you're going for. So here just a little bit ago, the reason why he took his base off the board was because I had destroyed it. And so the only reason he is in the game still is because he has a forward, like a secondary base that he can deploy from. And right now the winning condition is removing a player's ability to, you know, if they don't have anything to defend, they're, you know, or a place to retreat to, that's when the game ends. And so you can see here, just we got to the end, I wiped him out, robots won, and that was the crash test.